You wanted the best. You've got the best podcast. The hottest podcast in the world. The Chris Voss Show, the preeminent podcast with guests so smart you may experience serious brain bleed. The CEOs, authors, thought leaders, visionaries, and motivators. Get ready. Strap yourself in. Keep your hands, arms, and legs inside the vehicle at all times, because you're about to go on a monster education roller coaster with your brain. Now, here's your host, Chris Voss.
Hi, folks. It's Voss here from thechrisvossshow.com. Ladies and gentlemen, the Ireland season that makes official welcome to 16 years and 24 episodes of the Chris Voss Show, because we had nothing better to do except to entertain people, make them laugh, teach them, educate them, help them make their lives better, and that's what we do here on the Chris Voss Show. But we need your help. Everybody, it's like an MLM. Everyone must have 5 friends, neighbors, relatives in our downline. Refer the show to your family, friends, and relatives. Go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, LinkedIn.com/Chris Voss, Chris Voss 1 on the TikTokity, and Facebook.com/Chris Voss. Opinions expressed by guests on the podcast are solely their own and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the host or the Chris Voss Show. Some guests of the show may be advertising on the podcast, but it is not an endorsement or review of any kind. We've got 2 amazing young men on the show, and we're going to be talking today about some of their new ventures that they're doing and all the stuff that is going into it. Today, we are joined by 2 wonderful gentlemen, Dr. Roger Wu and Jorge Olson. Jorge is I believe the CMO of the company. Is that right?
That's correct.
And Dr. Wu, who is the CEO.
That's correct. CEO.
There's a lot of C's going around this thing. I'm just the dude who's running the mic. So we're going to be talking about your guys' company called the idrink.com. And this is the latest startup from 20/20 Incorporated. And it's created the world's first ready-to-drink functional beverage. I've been waiting for a functional beverage, specifically formulated to maintain eye health for computer or cell phone users. I'm pretty sure they made this product for me. The beverage is called the iDrink, and it uses scientifically proven ingredients to minimize screen-induced dry eye issues and protect our macula from blue light damage, which is the most critical part of the retina. Boy, do I know about retinas. Welcome to the show. Gentlemen, how are you?
Very good. Thank you.
Thanks
for having me here. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Wu, and thank you, Mr. Olson, for joining us on the show. Give us any .coms or any place on the internet you want people to find out more about you guys or follow you.
Okay. Let me tell you a little bit about myself first.
Mm-hmm.
I'm obviously not a big techie guy, so I don't have a lot of social media presence, but I was born in Taiwan and grew up in New Jersey or New Jersey, whatever they pronounce
Jersey?
Yeah, New Jersey. Luckily, I don't have the Jersey accent.
The Jersey.
Yeah, and I went to Rutgers University, got my Bachelor of Science degree in biochemistry, and I went to Pennsylvania, got my doctorate degree in optometry, the Pennsylvania College of Optometry, and afterward decided that I need to get more sunshine and pay more taxes and move to California. So that's pretty much where I end up right now. So I've been in private practice for at least 25 years now.
Wow.
Working with the ophthalmologists, working at the LASIK surgical centers. Back then, it was one of the hottest things. Everyone's getting LASIK done. So I was there for a few years, and before I opened my own private practice in the LA County area since 2005. Yeah.
So you've had your eyes on the eyes for 25 years.
Yeah.
See what I did there? Jorge, tell us a little bit about your background and any .coms you want to promote.
Sure. The idrink.com is where people should go to buy the iDrink and start having healthier eyes. My name is Jorge Olson, and I am a beverage expert. I wrote the book, Build Your Beverage Empire, Wholesale MBA, Marketing Karma, and a lot of other books. Hard Knocks. I've sent 5 companies public, raised over $100 million.
Wow.
Without being an investment banker. Just learning as I go.
I raised $100 million on my OnlyFans for feet. No, I'm just teasing. I didn't do that. Don't Google that, people. You're disgusting. Anyway, no one wants to see my feet. So tell us about this company, the idrink.com.
Okay. The iDrink is the name of the product, by the way. The company is called 20/20. And primarily, I developed this product, you can say out of frustrations from over the past 20 plus years of seeing patients and knowing that we transition from books and just maybe a few hours a day on our laptop or desktop computer to right now people are probably spending 80% of their free times on their mobile devices. And we also have we're seeing a bunch of crazy stuff clinically, some of the retinal issues
Oh, really?
right now, and then even younger adults getting cataract at a much younger age.
Cataracts? At younger age?
Yes, believe it or
Wow.
not. And also severe dry eyes right now, because dry eye issues, specifically the screen induced dry eye issues, is one of the hottest topics in the eye care industry these days.
Wow.
So there's not a lot of good solutions there. I can tell patients all day long, hey, take a break. Don't spend too much time on the devices. Everything, all of those basically, fell on deaf ears, including my kids, by the way. Kind of out of frustration a few years ago, just decided to take on this projects and start buying books about the beverage industry. And a couple of books I purchased were written by Jorge Olson. And after I read the book and say, hey, you know what? Why don't I just reach out, see if he responded? And he did, and that's where we are right now. So it's a very, very fascinating journey right now, which I totally enjoyed.
You guys combine your brilliant expertise and strength and keep your eyes on eyes and beverages and all that stuff. Jorge, tell us a little bit on you.
Sure. I started in the beverage industry when I was a wholesale distributor. I started my entrepreneurial journey after being a software consultant. I went and I bought a wholesale company. And later, I started introducing beverages into the company. And I loved it. I loved the beverage industry. I launched a whole bunch of beverages and over 1,000 fast-moving consumer goods. I've owned Miller Beer franchises.
Wow.
I've exported products to Mexico. I've had several distribution companies. I work with athletes, professional athletes, with celebrities. And I wrote the book, Build Your Beverage Empire, first edition 15 years ago, third edition last year. And the companies that I've sent public are all in or around the beverage industry. And that's what I've done for the last 20 years.
What intrigued you about what Dr. Wu was working on?
In the industry and over the last 20 years, as you can imagine, a lot of beverages come through my desk. I would say almost every single startup comes through my desk, every single beverage startup at one point or another, either because the venture capitalist company that wants to invest calls me, or because the investment banker calls me, or the CEO or the chairman or somebody calls me or sends the deck to me. So I've seen the evolution of what we call functional beverages. And one of the things that I discovered is that there are no true functional beverages so far.
Oh, wow.
They are called functional beverages, and they're more than anything sugar waters with a fancy name, maybe a handful of vitamins thrown in. But it is healthier than the sugar waters, only sugar waters, because they do have some vitamins. But really, really nothing that is really functional that will help your health, besides taking your multivitamin, for example, which is the ultimate that you can do for your body. Roger called me, and I thought it was going to be one of these multiple beverages that go through my desk that really doesn't have any legs. But then when he explained the problem, and then that he developed this for a problem, that alone is attention grabbing. Because when you're doing something to solve a problem, it's a great business model. And then when he sent me the research, the ingredients, and he started saying, when you're on the screen for 2 hours or more, and I immediately thought, yeah, more like 12 hours or more, forget 2 hours. I need 3 of these drinks per day just to function, because I'm SU, I'm on the computer, on the phone at midnight, just like you said. And that intrigued me. We started speaking, and then very soon we started working together to launch the product.
And it looks like it's a 16.9 flow ounce drink. So it's a little bottle, or it's a bottle that I guess you'd hold in your hand. I'm just trying to describe it to the audience that might be listening on the podcast. And I guess you drink at least one of those a day, or how does that work on the serving?
Yeah, it's a Gatorade sized bottle, and
Okay.
internally we call it the Gatorade for your eyes.
Okay.
It's basically exact same size, everything.
Mhm.
And then ideally you need to drink at least one bottle a day and up to 4 bottles a day.
Okay.
And it's got all the key ingredients to protect your eyes, particularly your macular areas, and also minimize dry eye issues. It's got all the key, omega-3 in there to protect your eyes and also keep you hydrated.
Mm-hmm. Now, you mentioned that you're seeing younger people coming in with eye issues, glaucoma, and different things. Is that largely from the dry eye, or is that some impact, that damage that's coming from the blue rays that come from the screens?
Yeah, it's actually a little bit of both. So there's the whole issue. Okay, let's go back to a little bit, give you a little bit of histories.
Okay.
10, I would say 15, 20 years ago, we called these issues collectively, we call it computer vision syndromes, or CVS. Okay, that's the acronyms. But that's before the cell phone, the iPad came about. Okay, so later on, people changed it to digital eye strain, or DES. So basically, they're the same thing. But what exactly is DES? DES is pretty much a collection of symptoms people experience when they spend a couple hours in front of their devices. So the symptoms include dry and burning eye, redness, light sensitivity, visual fluctuations, and even halos, even headaches. By the way, headaches, that's part of it. Yes.
Yeah.
So all those, a bunch of those symptoms actually are all pretty much covered under the term digital eye strain. And there's really no good way to minimize those problems besides telling patients keep doing, minimize your screen time, drink more water, taking your vitamins. And obviously, I mean, the compliance rate is less than 10%. And I was being, probably even being optimistic, probably not even 10%.
Wow.
So that's the issue right now, and that's why we decided to focus on those. Basically, we pretty much know what the causes for a digital eye strain.
Wow.
There are several risk factors there, so we try to focus those, and then try to come up with a solution that's number one, very effective. That's very important because efficacy. If you can drink whatever vitamin water or everything, whatever, if it doesn't help, then it's a waste of your money and your time. So efficacy is very, very important, and it's got to be scientifically based formulations. We can't just come out and throwing stuff in there saying that this will work, they're actually, believe it or not, there are a lot of products out there claiming they help dry eyes or they help certain eye problems, but there's no scientific evidence to back them up. So it's got to be science based, and then it's got to taste good because the earlier formulations, my son, both my kids, they're the number one, number two testers, and the first probably 10, 15 formulation that came out, my oldest one just telling me, saying, "Dad, stop bringing these back home. I'd rather go blind than drinking these. This is horrible. They taste like gasoline." Yeah, because those are the key ingredients that people are taking. I mean, they're supposed to be taking.
Okay.
So to go from something like those that taste so bad to something that tastes delicious took us a long time. But I was so glad we actually came out with it, and then all the testers right now, they loved it, and that's why I'm so proud of presenting this product and showcase this with the Jorge as well.
Jorge, anything you want to add to that?
I would like Roger to talk about some of the case studies he's witnessed with the younglings, because you would imagine adults having this problem just because we've been at it for so long. Our eyes have miles, right? Just like our legs, our knees, our eyes have eyes. But then when you think of a teenager, you don't think that they're going to have a lot of eye problems. And I would like Roger to talk about the younger ones, the younglings that he sees with problems, and then what happens after they see him.
Yeah. There are two things that the eye drink target. Number one, okay, there are two problems that we're trying to solve. The first one is obviously, the dry eye issues among device users. It's so common these days. It's just getting crazy. Give you a little bit of background. Like 25 years ago, if I had seen a 25-year-old getting severe dry eyes, one of the first things that we do is order blood tests. because there's got to be something inflammatory within their system to causing such a severe dry eyes.
Oh, really?
But if I had to do that now, God, I'll be ordering, I don't know, 40, 50 blood tests every single week just to see those, treat those dry eye patients, because everyone's on computer cell phone. That's causing their dry eyes.
Yeah.
So the age is getting younger and younger. Kids getting 12, 13-year-old on iPhone all the time or iPad all the time, getting severe dry eyes.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one thing we're trying to solve. The second one is what we call the macular issue. Macula, which is the most central, most critical part of your retina. The function of the macula, because every time when you're looking, reading something, right now I'm chatting with you over the computer, I'm using my macula to see the screen. So macula is extremely important. So we have a test, very special test that measures the amount of pigmentation in your macula. It's called MPOT. Okay, it's called MPOD. It's an acronym that stands for macular pigment optical densities.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of some doctors have those equipments, so I strongly recommend that if you can find a doctor who are equipped to measure your MPOT score, go for it. So MPOT essentially will tell you, it will quantify the amount of pigmentation that you have in your macula.
Really?
The more pigmentation you have, the less likely you'll have macular issue down the road, because those pigmentation, you probably heard those terms, lutein, zeaxanthins. Those pigmentation will absorb or filter out the blue light.
Really?
So to keep your eyes protected, yes. Pretty much like a sunscreen.
Huh.
Okay, it's a sunscreen for your eyes. So let me give you another kind of sad story. I would say probably up until 5-6 years ago, when you have an MPOT score that's above 0.50, you're considered normal. Okay, the ideal range should be 0.5 to 1.0 in that range. A few years ago, they lowered that standard from 0.5 to 0.4. So imagine that. Like they're saying that right now, a few years ago, if you're like 0.45, for example, you're considered at risk of getting macular problem down the road.
Wow.
Nowadays, 0.45 is considered safe, just because everyone's on computer and all the score is trending down.
Wow.
It's just a sad thing, almost like our BMI. Anything above 25 is considered you're overweight. Now everyone's on fast food. Then the government decides to raise the BMI to 30. That's pretty much the same analogy.
Wow.
It's just a sad thing when I found out they lowered that standard to make more people happier right now, in other words.
Isn't that insane how they do
and
that?
then we have obviously we have the equipment at the office to measure the MPOT scores. And people who are drinking, because we conducted a very small pilot study from my patient base. People who had drink the eye drink consistently for 90 days in a row, you can see their MPOT score just went up like a hockey stick.
Wow.
So no vitamin pills can duplicate that same sort of data. So we're in this phase 2 right now, trying to scale the study to bigger people involved right now. So that's where we are. It's pretty excited.
What makes the product different than maybe other things in the market? I notice some things here on the website. It's doctor developed, science-based, and a natural formula. If you want to flesh that out a little bit, either one of you.
Okay. The formulation is based on a huge international study called AREDS2, AREDS2. So if you go to Costco or any store, you can buy the AREDS2 vitamins. So AREDS stands for Age-Related Eye Disease Study. It's just a big study done about 15 years ago. And to find out what sort of vitamins can help you protect your macula from either blue light or UV light damage, or prevent or minimize your issue of getting macular degeneration down the road. So our beverage is based on that formulation right there. No one has ever successfully come up with a beverage that tastes good and also AREDS2 base. And on top of that, we use the omega-3, the fish oil. Not from fish. It's algae-based omega-3, and that's triglyceride form, which we believe is studies showing that triglyceride form, EPA and DHA can actually enhance your GI absorptions. So that's the better one. And then so we have a algae-based triglyceride form omega-3, which is if you're a vegan, it's vegan-friendly beverages. So we're trying to use omega-3 to minimize your dry eye symptoms or dry eye issue, and also the AREDS2 formulation to protect your maculas.
Wow. Jorge, anything you want to add to that?
Yes, this is what makes the eye drink different from any other beverage that I've seen in the last 20 years.
Wow.
Because it's made to solve a problem. The problem is not just a problem of I'm dehydrated, it's a problem of society. It's a social problem that we have because of technology. And over the years, that problem is getting worse and worse because we rely more on screens, either for work or for play or even for communication now. We do project management on the computer. We do meetings on the computer. If you work remotely, you are on the computer for everything, even on your break. You take your break and you look at your phone for the break, right? I've seen people in restaurants, they go on their break and then they go on the phone. So this constant screen time creates a lot of social problems, but one of the big problems it creates, it's a problem for the eyes. What we don't want is for people to lose their vision or for their vision to get worse over time. I started with screens young. I started when I was in 6th grade with computers, but that was, 1 hour a week or something similar. These kids are on the phone, some from 1 year old. So imagine what's going to happen when they're 12 or 13 or 15. They've already been 15 years or 14 years of their life on the screen. When they're 50, 53, my age, then it's going to be a disaster. So now I like that we're making a drink that's different, and then the solution is easy. You don't have to swallow 20 pills. You don't have to swallow the big omega, I call them horse pills because they're so big. and you can hydrate at the same time that you're getting health for your eyes. Now, cool. It's not just for the eyes. Of course, this was made especially for the eyes, but omega is one of the best vitamins that you can take. You can take it for the brain, right? I take omega for the brain. And the fact that it has omega, it's not only good for the eyes, but it's a natural anti-inflammatory. And most disease is inflammation, even wrinkles, right? The wrinkle cure is omega. And you can get omega now in your drink, which is also very unique. Now, the go-to market is also very unique because we will not only sell it like any other beverage, wholesale distribution, what I'm used to. We're going to sell it in doctors' offices as well. We started already with Roger, and the results are incredible. I've never seen anything like it. He's selling more than what a 7-Eleven or a convenience store would sell in 3 months. He's selling in a week. And from his office. Just people don't go there for the drink. Obviously, they go to get their eyes checked. And they're walking out with a 12-pack, a 24-pack, or even a subscription for auto ship of the eye drink. So even the go-to-market strategy is one that's completely unique, and I've never seen it before.
Wow. This and dry eye is a big deal. I suffer from dry eye from a lot of years. I think I wasn't hydrating enough and stuff, and probably other issues. And I've always been on screens, of course, running businesses. I'm up late at night. I'm pretty much 24/7 looking at a screen sometimes if I'm not asleep. And between blue light issues and then dry eye issues, it's been something I've dealt with. My eye vision has degraded over, I think I got glasses when I was 11. That's when we determined, 11 or 12, they determined that I was losing my eyesight, and I think it pretty much degraded up until I was about, I think, 48 or 50, and then it seems to have stabilized off. But I'll still have bouts of dry where some days I just have sandpaper. I have to wear glasses. And I think a lot of people go through dry now. It's kind of become, you see a lot of products for dry and things of that nature. And I believe if your eyes go dry, blinking and doing things can it do damage to your eyes if your eyes are too dry?
Yeah, absolutely. Just like our skin, if your skin gets really dry, then you start to flake, right? Start getting really dry, start to peel. Our eyes, same thing, especially the front part of the cornea, the color part of the eyes, the surface of the cornea can also do the same thing, can have the same damage, start to peel, start to get damaged. So you start getting irritation that's, send these, greedy sensations. What people get, and also your vision will fluctuate, and then ultimately become, your vision fluctuates, and then ultimately you get some scarring. Those
wow.
are permanent scars. We'll actually talk about these topics at NASA, because I've been invited to talk about this at NASA a couple of times. Yeah,
Wow.
scared the crap out of those engineers. But anyway, that's a different story. But we have pictures to show the cornea with the scarring coming from severe dry eyes. So
Wow.
those scars, you cannot fix those scars.
Yeah.
So that's the dry eye issue. People think, no big deal. A lot of people say it's dry eye. What's the big deal? Just dry throat, dry mouth, and just drink some water, right? But eyes are a little different. Once you have those permanent scars on the corneas, number one, your vision might be permanently damaged. But if you're also unlucky, you can have a bacterial infection because there's not enough tear to lubricate the eye. So your chance of getting infections is a little higher. Your eyes get red, and ultimately, if you keep ignoring the infections, it can turn into corneal ulcers.
I've heard of eye ulcers. Yeah.
Yeah, so it depends on the location of the ulcer. If you're so unlucky, it's right at the center of the pupil, like some of my younger patients, their vision is permanently damaged. One of the kids, the best vision is by 2080, somewhere there. It's not even close to 2020. Luckily, his other eye is still 2020. But he's got this huge scar right at the center.
Jesus.
And went to see multiple doctors, even UCI, and they just couldn't do anything about it. And this is coming from, he's a contact lens wearer. He never worn contact lens. Yeah, but he just kind of ignored his dry eye throughout, his younger age as a teenager. And luckily, the ulcer just got so big, and he waited until he saw a doctor. That was just kind of unfortunate. So a lot of people say, dry eye, no big deal. What's a big deal? My eyes get irritated. But your vision potentially could, get damaged permanently from the dry eyes as well.
Boy, do I know that. I have keratoconus in my left eye, as we talked about previous to the show. It was actually diagnosed, I think, in my 20s, and it got worse over the years. And then recently I was fitted, I think a year and a half ago, for a sclera lens.
Yep.
And it was a great idea, but then they found I have a giant scar, right? And so, fortunately, they just luck, and hopefully it holds it all together. But out of luck, they were able to figure out a way to kind of curve it over the scar without irritating. Because what would happen is when I put the sclera lens, it would rub against the scar, and then I'd just go insane. And so they figured a way to jump it over, but still be able to see. And I think I'm like 20/40 or something, so I'm not too bad. But yeah, I don't want that thing to get worse, because that sclera lens is some $1,000 custom.
Yeah, absolutely. They're very, very pricey. Yeah, but there are also procedures to slow down the progression of keratoconus. I'm not sure.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
It's a collagen cross-linking procedures, so you might want to look into it.
Okay, collagen cross-linking. And of course, you probably should say, getting the vitamins from your drink too, eh?
This won't help.
Oh, okay. I'm screwed.
To be honest about that.
This is an example, man. If you don't take care of your eyes, and I believe the scarring came probably from dry eye or something. I don't know where the scar came from. I know that sometime during COVID, I went in 2 or 3 days where somehow it was pissed off, and it felt like something had torn in my eye, or I gotten jammed or something. I don't know what. Maybe when I was asleep, I stuck my finger in my eye or something, or maybe a hair. I have dogs, so maybe a hair, something got in there, and that's the only time that I can remember. But and part of the other problem that you have with keratoconus is if you've got one semi good eye, you want to preserve that eye so you can only see out one. So, drinks like yours are important. And and so you recommend that you take one of these drinks every 2 hours that you're exposed to blue light computers?
No, actually, minimum, ideally, if you spend 2 hours or more daily on your screen, which is probably, I would say, 90% of the population these days, then you should drink at least one bottle. And if you spend, 5, 10, 15 hours, like some of my patients, is crazy. Yeah. Working for a defense company, and he showed me that he's actually documented how much time he spent on it, especially during the pandemic, during the lockdown. It was crazy. So people like that should drink at least 2 to 3 bottles. Yeah.
This is interesting. I pulled up the cornea cross-linking. I'll have to look some more into this and stuff. And do you have to do it? Do you just do it once, or does this procedure?
Just once. Should be just once. Yeah.
Okay. Do I need to take more collagen? Would that help at all, or is that
No, no. I mean, yeah. Anything that has to go through the GI, that's your gastric acid will destroy a lot of those. Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
clearly, you have to drink this. You don't pour it in your eye. I had to have some fun with that.
Yeah.
Now, can it only be ordered from your website? Is it available on other sites like Amazon, et cetera, et cetera?
Right now, currently, it's on the website. Yeah, theidrink.com. Yeah, but slowly we're rolling out because we literally just launched this a few weeks ago. So slowly we're launching out through doctors' offices, starting probably Southern California first. But anywhere in the U.S. you can order online and we'll ship it directly to your house.
There you go. Jorge, do you have anything you want to throw in here?
Yes, I think we should explore a little bit eye drops, because when people think of dry eyes, they say, I'll just put some drops and then that'll fix it. And I would like Roger to address that theory.
Please do, because I'm one of those people that I can burn through a lot of dry eye drops, and it's just
there's obviously the non-prescription over-the-counter eye drops. A lot of time they only last about 15-20 minutes and then your eyes get dried again. And the more potent one, which is more oily, more viscous one, a lot of people really didn't like them because they blur your vision for 20-30 minutes. So that's not ideally a good solution either. And then there's also the prescription medications. I'm not sure whether you have gotten some of those medications or not. Some are extremely pricey, almost $1,000 for a tiny little bottle.
Wow.
For dry eye. Yep, about $900. That came out about 2 years ago. And if you don't have insurance, I mean, unless you're Elon Musk, I'm not going to spend $900 a bottle for 30 days supply.
That's crazy.
Dry eyes. Yeah, and then there's obviously other treatments that you can do. You can pluck out the tear duct. There is the IPL for dry eyes, but those are all very, very pricey. None of the insurance will pay for those. As well. Yeah, the plugs, yes, some insurance will pay for it, but it's one of those things that if you pluck up your tear ducts, yes, they do help. But if you rub your eyes so hard, a lot of times you just lose the plugs.
Wow.
You end up going back there, spend a couple $100 for another one.
Oh yeah, I've seen the plugs that they're like tiny plugs. It's kind of funny how it works.
Yeah.
But I've become familiar with that whole kind of system of tear ducts and stuff that are there. And man, it used to be that I would have to rub them or try and squeeze them or press on them, and that's probably bad, right?
Yeah.
And to try and I'm like, give me some juice, eh? And I imagine KY is a bad lubricant for your eyes. What's going on?
Not for the eyes.
Not with
not for the eyes.
Yeah. One other question I had for you was, you guys talk about posture issues when the eyes get tired. I've probably been guilty that way. I'm a seasitter. I hunch over, and there's been times where I'm working and I'm just sitting there going,
yeah, that's another funny thing you talk about it. I think my second presentation with NASA was online because during the pandemics. So as soon as I brought that up, you can see people start sitting back. Yeah. And okay, this is the thing. When people, that's just human nature, okay? When people get tired or when our eyes become fatigued, our natural instinct is to lean forward, not backward. You don't see people lean back when your eyes get tired. They just lean forward. So your cell phone or iPad, whatever, you just tend to hold it a little closer. So when you do that, there's a couple of things that happen. Number one is there's tiny little muscle inside the eyeball. It's called ciliary muscle. They have to pull. They have to constrict in order to get things in focus. That means they have to pull even harder for you to focus up close. That's one thing. So if you're young, yes, you still have that ability to pull. But imagine pulling it throughout the day. Initially you probably wouldn't feel anything, but doing it for 6, 7, 8 hours a day is going to put a lot of stress on your eye.
Wow.
Okay, so that's one thing. And then on top of that, ergonomically, the neck issue, because our human head weighs about 10 to 12 pounds. That's average.
Yeah.
My probably weighs a little more than that. So average 11 pounds. So if you're leaning forward, I believe the number is if you lean forward only 30 degrees, you're putting 30 pounds of pressure on your neck.
Wow.
Right? If you're holding an iPad or iPhone, which a lot of people lean way more than 30 pounds.
Yeah.
Then if 60 degree, if you lean forward 60 degree, that's about 60 or 65 pounds of force you're putting on your neck and your shoulders. And that's why you're seeing people with a neck problem, shoulder problem. One of my friends is a chiropractor. He said, "Oh my God, the last few years, he was kind of thankful for the pandemic." He said his business went up through the roof because a lot of people are younger people coming in with the neck problems. And before that, he just rarely see people in the 20s to come in to see a chiropractor.
Wow.
Now he's seeing more and more of those people right now. And then on top of that, and I mean, you were talking about those postural issues, but if you look at other studies causing by the blue light, the closer you are to the screen, obviously the more exposure you have.
Yeah.
So the blue light is another issue. If you look at the dermatology world, they are seeing more melanoma for people, on people who spend a lot of time on their computers, and the location of those melanoma is from neck up to their forehead in this area.
Yeah.
And those are not the ones who spend a lot of time outdoor playing sports. They're getting melanomas, and guys are getting, younger people are getting prostate issues now. There's a big study in Spain talking about it. And then for the woman, a lot of them are getting more of the tamoxifen resistant breast cancers now, and they believe it has a lot to do with the blue light because everyone's on a computer.
Yeah.
And the blue light would destroy your hormone, causing other health issues.
I think I've heard of that. Yeah.
Yeah. But again, I don't want to scare your audience away, just like I did at NASA again. Yeah.
Funny, I grew up with the old computer screens that we had in our companies that we had to actually buy the radiation screens for them because there was those old things. And I was like, we have to buy this heavy radiation glass to block the radiation. Is that safe? But those were the days. And then I saw the advent of the launch of the iPad. And of course, the iPhone was about out in the same time, but you would start seeing these babies at 1 year old or, just, whatever they could function, starting to use the iPad. And you're like, wow, that's going to be kind of interesting how that works. How safe is it for children to drink it as well?
It is very safe. Yeah. We use actual fruit juice, actual orange, actual strawberry, unless you're allergic to those, or if you're allergic to, omega, then obviously, you're probably not a suitable, person for that. But it's very, very safe. All the ingredients been, tested out, shelf life testing, no issue at all. That's why my kids, they drink at least one bottle a day. I drink sometimes more than one bottle a day myself. I truly believe the product is, especially the ingredient, the premium ingredient that we use, is definitely safe to be consumed long term.
Yeah. And it has lutein in it, if I'm pronouncing that right. And that's a big deal.
Yep.
Normally found in tomatoes and stuff.
Yeah, that's also the lutein and zeaxanthin. Those are two key pigmentation for the maculas. So it has to be the right correct ratio. A lot of vitamins out there, if you look at them, their ratio is not 5:1. So that's very, very important. Yeah.
Yeah. Jorge, anything you want to add to that?
I think don't give iPads to babies. That's my advice. That's what I want to
take them away.
What we've seen is it's a babysitter, right? You go to dinner. How many times do you see this? You go to dinner. First of all, you might go to dinner and you see other people there on their phone instead of having a conversation, right? That's the first thing.
Yeah,
so try to socialize more. Stay off the screen. Start when you go out. If you go out with your baby or your kid, instead of giving them a phone, there's a lot of other new toys that are made for children that they can touch and squeeze and do different things so that they're more engaged, not only with the eyes, but also with their hands. Do that instead of handing them a phone, because the damage that we're doing with the kids, it's something that parents are not considering when they give them the phone. It's, I need some peace, here's the phone. But then the other thing that happens is the phone addiction, the screen addiction, and you're making that child that's 1 year old addicted to a screen. And then when they're 4 or 5, you say, okay, I'm gonna confiscate the phone, or I'm gonna have screen-free hour, and then they're gonna have withdrawals. Because they're addicted, and that's one of the things that we have to address, because we are responsible entrepreneurs. It's not only the solution, but also let's avoid the problem.
Yeah. The pretty wild, man. And your eye health is just so important. I mean, you got to have your eyes. There's been times where my dry has been really bad. Do you find that it helps reduce the amount of these, these little tubes? Those of you listening in the audience, I'm holding up one of these little preservative hydration tubes that are designed for me. They're designed for the lens I wear, the sclera lens, but they also help. But man, whoever made these things, I mean, you get about 1 or 2 shots for your eye in these things, and they cost a fortune. And I don't know, the plastic must just fill its own landfill on its own. But boy, if I could go through less of these, that would be great. It'd save me a fortune too, really, when it comes down to it.
Yeah, we definitely, for the dry eyes, let me give you a couple cases. One of my patients, she's the branch manager for a local bank, pretty big bank right here down the street. She's been seeing me for, God, how long? 10, 15, 20 years maybe. Always came back for basically same complaint. Her eyes are dry, everything, putting plugs there, using the artificial tear, the tear eye drop that you just shown right there pretty much. And, it's just getting frustrated. And she spent all the money every month trying to treat her dry eyes. Unfortunately, she's still on her computer, I don't know, 7, 8 hours a day. Wow. So she started drinking the eye drinks. So she drinks on the average 1 to 2 bottles a day, especially toward the end of the day, in the afternoon after lunch. And she came back a couple of weeks later, told me that within less than a week, 4 or 5 days, her eyes feel less sore toward the end of the day. She noticed a huge difference. So she think that, obviously it's definitely, everything stays the same. She's still spending the same amount of time on the computer, drinking her coffee, her tea, whatever, natural diuretics. But just, in addition to those, she started drinking eye drink. That's the only thing that's different.
Wow.
She felt there's definitely an improvement from there. So that's, we had a couple cases like that. And obviously we'll have more in a couple months because we're collecting more dry eye data right now.
Yeah. I mean, if I could go through less of these little eye drop preservative squirter things that you use for eye, I mean, there's, I don't know, 6, 7, there's probably like 10 used ones on my desk right now. I know they're not from today, but probably a couple days. But I can go through a lot, especially if I'm really tired or blue eye, and I don't really pay much attention to it. I really should. But, this is, what we're discussing here. So as we round out the show, give us a final pitch out to people to order up the product, get to know what's better, how they can reach out to you guys and learn more.
Okay. The website is the, www.theeyedrink.com. You can place your order there, subscribe there. Doesn't matter. You just order 1 bottle or a truckload. We'll send those out to you. And then obviously on top of that, the major, takeaway, Jorge mentioned that after he made that statement about the iPad, maybe the price of the Apple stock just went down a little bit. But anyway, try to control the amount of time you spend on screen. That's most important. And also get a good pair of lenses that filter out the blue light.
At all times or at all times?
As much as possible, because I wear them, I wear them myself right now. Every time I sit in front of a computer, I put them on. All my kids have these lenses right now. There are different, so many different lenses out there. Some are horrible, honestly. They feel, because we have equipment that measures the amount of blue light being transmitted. So some are very, very bad. There's several good ones out there. So make sure you do your research, find the good ones, and invest in a good pair of lenses. I think personally, lenses are a lot more important than the frame.
Yeah.
Okay, let's put it this way. Invest in, into those lenses and to protect your eyes. Otherwise, down the road, I guarantee you, there's another, tsunami of eye problems, 10, 15, 20 years from now on, we'll see them. So, yeah, I can definitely predict that right now, seeing from seeing patient every day, what we experience right now.
Wow. And that's just crazy that it's happened younger and younger. But you see people that are addicted to things. The other topic I was going to mention was gaming. So I'm a big gamer. I play with a lot of people in the gaming community. We review a lot of products for gamer communities like Blue Eye products. Because, I mean, I've spent sometimes 12 hours on a day gaming for raids and different things, and I'm older. I didn't get into gaming till later in life, but I've always been into computers with working. But, these young kids that game, they're 10, 12, they start fairly young gaming. I mean, I think a lot of the really young kids, they I don't know what years they start, but they get in that Roblox and the Minecraft. And I remember my niece and nephew, when they were like really young, they were into playing Minecraft and stuff. So, yeah, right away, that's another thing, on top of the screens. So
yeah. What do you like to play?
It kind of depends. Destiny was a big game for a lot of years. Call of Duty. I'm back playing Division 2 again. Yeah.
Those are some of the ones I play as well. I'm a big gamer also.
Yeah.
But I started young. I started with the Atari. I started young with first generation computers. Mm-hmm. And now, like you, I play the same games. I'm playing Assassin's Creed right now.
There you go.
The Samurai Ninja combo. Uh-huh. And that's another problem that you just mentioned, the gaming, because now you're adding somebody like us that are in the computer working the whole day. Mm-hmm. But then for fun, guess what we do? we go on the screen again. Forget the phone. This is just the screen plus the phone. And we might play, and like you said, in Destiny, when you're doing raids or you're playing with people, sometimes we even feel responsible. You can't leave because you're in it as a team, and you might stay there at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning. You don't even know. Maybe you're drinking coffee or drinking Red Bulls, which don't hydrate. And this is another great use of the iDrink. When you're gaming and you're going to stay late, now you're hydrating and you're putting vitamins in your body and protecting your eyes while you game. So it's another use for us gamers.
I used to drink a lot of vodka for 20 years. I'm a big guy and I have a high resilience to everything, including aspirin. And so I used to drink a lot, and I can't think of probably how many times I dehydrated myself drinking. And then I would be drinking and gaming with my friends. We'd be working on a raid or whatever the hell it was. And yeah, geez, I just look back on some of the stupid shit I did across my life, and I'm just like, it's a wonder. I mean, from talking to you guys, I should be blind at this point, which I pretty much am in my left eye and my right eye. Thank God that thing stopped going bad on me. I don't know if maybe it'll go back the other way, but some great stuff here, guys, and things that parents should be aware of with their children, and then we should be aware of as they grow up. Isn't it amazing how much, all this great technology, it's like, hey, this technology is amazing. Yeah. I know my mom, and probably I have the problem because I'll sit in bed and flip through TikTok, and then I'm awake all night, and 4 a.m. rolls around. You're like, what? I just looked at one more TikTok slide, and now it's 4 a.m. This is something that's really important. And one of the things my mom's dealt with is the blue eye. She can't fall asleep at night because she'll watch TV, and she's learned that, you can't turn that TV on while you're laying in bed. It's a temptation, because I do the same thing with my phone. I'll sit there, one more TikTok, and then you can't go to sleep. And you're like, why aren't I going to sleep? It's because your brain's going, hey, stupid, we think the sun's still out, right? Gentlemen, thank you very much for coming to the show. Give us the .coms one more time as we go out.
Go to the idrink.com, subscribe so you can get it at home every 30 days. You don't have to worry about it. One for you, one for your kid.
And let the teenagers go blind. They're annoying. No, I'm just kidding. Don't do that. They're teenagers. They'll get over it. They'll come back and love you someday, but they always want money. Anyway, thank you very much, gentlemen, for coming on the show. I'm going to be checking out the product and ordering some up here, because I really want I really enjoy seeing stuff. So kind of into that seeing things. It kind of helps, especially if you want to look at a beautiful woman or whatever your spice of life is. If you just want to see a beautiful sunset stuff, take care of your eyes, because, man, I tell you, when you get old and the body starts falling apart, it ain't fun. And you kind of start feeling the road that you did for 40, 50 years. Things you did to yourself, you really start feeling them. You're like, I think I can feel that thing I did in 1982. So take care of your eyes, people. It's the most important, one of the most important things. You might want to take care of the heart and a few other things, but they can replace that. Evidently, replacing eyes, I don't think is the thing yet, is it? I know there's cornea transplant, but
yeah, you can't replace your eyeballs.
Damn. Yeah. You can replace my heart. I can't replace my soul, though. Soul a long time ago. Anyway, thank you very much for coming to the show, gentlemen. We certainly appreciate it.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. And thanks so much for tuning in. Go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, LinkedIn.com/Chris Voss, Facebook.com/Chris Voss, Chris Voss on the TikTokity, or up wherever find their website, theidrink.com. Thanks for tuning in. Be good to each other. Stay safe. We'll see you next time. We'll see you.